Hi everyone, I'm Joanne Varni, and I'd like to take you through a nice restorative practice that can be done in your home. And I want to keep the props to a minimum because I know that many of you more than likely don't have a lot of props at your house. So today we'll just need a blanket and a bolster. You can always use a couch pillow or multiple blankets or pillow from your bed, but something that is maybe like 4 inches thick would be really good. I also like having extra support on my mat, so I always have a blanket on my mat to make it more comfortable. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to place the bolster down at the bottom of your mat, and that's going to support our legs. And then our blanket, we're going to make a roll, and we're going to take this roll and put it underneath our back. Okay, let's pause here. Hi, everyone. No. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanne Varni, and I would like to take you through a nice, gentle, restorative practice at home. And for our purposes today, we'll need just a couple of props just to keep it simple. And you can use what I have here, which is a yoga bolster if you happen to have one, and a blanket. The blanket could be any type of blanket that you like. Something with a little bit of substance is better. So maybe not a fleece blanket because they tend to collapse. I like also having a second blanket on my mat just for a little more cushion and support. So let's just do a little movement to open the spine and get the energy flowing in the body. So we'll sit up nice and tall and place your hands on your knees. On the inhale, come forward with your heart. Exhaling, we'll round the back, pull the belly button back towards your spine, and we're just flowing the spine forward and back. Like imagine you're a piece of kelp in a kelp forest, and you're just flowing with the waves, with the current. Beginning to get some circulation running in the back, up the spine, awakening the nervous system. And then when you come forward this next time, instead of coming back, let's round the right ribs to the right. Come back into that rounded back, left ribs to the left, and then coming forward once again with your heart. So I like moving really slow here, as if you've seen some of my other videos, you would see that I like moving slow because it is more supportive of the nervous system. The nervous system tends to stay more settled when we're moving slowly and predictably and in a way that isn't abrupt and sharp and sudden. And then change the direction so you're going the other way. And the nervous system will stay a little more regulated if we move in that way. And for our purposes today, we do want to promote the rest and recovery part of the nervous system. So that parasympathetic nervous system. If you're talking vagus nerve theory, then the ventral, moving into ventral, that relaxed state where we feel like we're completely in rhythm, allowing ourselves to rest and recover in an awakened state. Let's bring our hands behind us. Legs come forward. We'll windshield wiper the feet from side to side. And then bend your knees generously and begin to circle the toes. So just getting some energy flowing. And then change the direction. So you're circling the other way. And I like doing bigger circles so that I can get into the knees and the hips. And then release that effort. Go ahead and sit for a moment. Let's just circle the wrists. And then change the direction. So you're circling the other way. And then hands on your shoulders. Bring the elbows towards each other. So you're spreading the shoulder blades wide. Then bring the elbows behind you and squeeze the blades together. And then we round. We let the spine follow the movement. So the heart comes forward when the elbows come back. We round the back as the elbows come forward and together. Just getting into the shoulders and a little more into the back. Change the direction. And just a little movement before the restorative practice I find is really useful and beneficial. Sometimes we can move into restorative at the end of the day when we're really stiff from sitting and not moving as much, and just a little bit of movement is going to help you. And then release that effort and let's get started. So take your blanket and we're going to open it up to about a quarter of the size. And I have a nice rectangle. You might not, and it doesn't really matter. We're going to roll that blanket from the longer edge, if there is a longer edge. If it's a square, don't worry about it. Just roll it from one of the edges. And roll it in a way that you feel your back could be supported but not be in discomfort. So if you've never had a blanket underneath your heart, or, we're going to lie down on top of this underneath our heart, then roll it very little, maybe halfway or maybe a quarter of the way. If you've done this quite a bit, then you could roll it, then you'll know how much to roll it. Like I do this all the time, so I know that my back can handle this roll. We'll place the roll on the mat, maybe about a third of the way down, and we'll have this bolster down by the legs to support the knees because we want to be nice and comfortable. I like pulling the bolster up against the hamstrings. And then as I come down, I'm just feeling for that blanket so it lands right at the bottom edge of my shoulder blades. So if this is my shoulder blade, let's say my shoulder blade ends here, the top of that blanket is resting right there. So it's right behind the heart. We don't want it in the lumbar. And sometimes people, by mistake, just have it too low. So make sure that it's not sitting directly on the shoulder blades. It's right at the bottom edge and it's not too low into the lumbar spine. The arms can go in a cactus position, which is really nice if your shoulders can feel supported by that. Sometimes the arms will float if there's an impingement or something going on with the shoulder, if it's a little bit out of whack. In that case, you're going to bring the arms straight out to the side, or sometimes that's even too much. Then bring your arms by your side, but make sure that if the blanket extends out over the mat, that the arm goes under the blanket to invite the shoulder to open. So any of those positions with the legs or with the arms are going to be supporting you. And then the legs are just supported by your bolster or your pillow. And then once you're on your back, there could be a tendency for the back to resist what you're asking it to do. So see if it's possible to soften the back with every exhale. On the inhale, create space around the heart. And then as you exhale, allow the thoracic spine, the part of the spine that's right behind the heart, to melt away like butter, almost as if the spine is becoming one with the blanket. Now, the first few breaths here are somewhat crucial because we want to make sure that the blanket's not uncomfortable. So sometimes we'll land in a posture and we'll just accept where we land, and it becomes uncomfortable. With restorative, we're in the postures for longer periods of time. So you'll want to make sure that this is comfortable. And if it's not, then you'll come up to a seat and you'll adjust your blanket, make the roll a little bit lower. Otherwise, we're just letting the heart melt with each exhale, creating space around the heart with every inhale. Soften the face, soften the jaw, let the eyes settle into their sockets. If you happen to have an eye pillow, you could use one here, or a t-shirt or a towel to cover the eyes. Sometimes people enjoy that while on your back. Always your choice. But just keep everything soft and allow the body to even make little shifts organically to become more comfortable. If there comes a point where you need to come out of this sooner, just lift your hips and your back up and pull the blanket out to the side and either rest on your back or rest on your side. So always your choice. We never want to be uncomfortable. We never want to be in pain. This practice is to gently open the body and also promote relaxation. So if you're in pain, relaxation is not likely going to be possible. Soften the muscles in the face. Maybe turn the sides of the mouth up slightly. In our restorative practice, sometimes the mind can get a little bit busy. So you can begin to count your breath. That can give the mind a job and can be extremely useful. You can inhale 1, exhale 1, inhale 2, exhale 2, and so on, maybe up to 10, starting over if you need to. If your mind gets busy again, once you're aware that the mind is thinking, come back to the breath or come back to the counting breath. We'll be here for about 10 more breaths. And then as you're ready, bend your knees and place your feet on your pillow or your bolster, or you can move the bolster off to the side with your feet if you want to. Press the feet into the bolster or the mat, lift the hips up and the back up, and then remove your blanket off to the side. If you can't remove it in that way, then just roll onto your side and remove it however you need to. And then lower the hips and back down. Walk your feet out to the side edges of the bolster and bring the arms straight out to the side. Let's all inhale together. On the exhale, lower the arms to the right and turn the gaze to the left. So we want to neutralize the spine after a nice back bend like that. Inhale to center, exhale, legs go left, gaze goes right. And then taking your time, going slow, letting the back settle down. And then the next time the knees come back to center, whenever that is for you, hug your knees into your shoulders. Do a little rocking from side to side. And then come back to center and raise one arm above your head and roll onto your side. And it's important just to rest for a few moments, just to allow the back to settle down, readjust, move back to its natural state. We're never in a hurry in restorative yoga. It's the beauty of it. Just taking your time. And then as you're ready, slowly come up to a seat. So this is where people will often tend to fling themselves up. And then all that relaxation we just did goes out the window because now the nervous system is all aroused again. So we want to make sure that we're transitioning. The transition is as important as the postures themselves. Let's take our bolster and turn it lengthwise on the right side of your mat. Let's take our blanket and unroll it so it's back into that rectangle. At least mine's in a rectangle. And then fold it in half and fold it in half again. And then keep that handy. And I'm going to give you some choices for the legs. So we'll take the bolster and we'll want, so I'm on my right side. The top of my right thigh is going to be parallel with the bottom edge of this bolster. If your back is feeling pretty strong, have the right shin parallel with the side of the mat and your left shin, so the top leg, parallel with the bottom of the mat. Place your left hand on the left side of the bolster and the right hand on the right side of the bolster, and then square your shoulders as you engage the twist. So that's if your back feels like it wants a deeper twist. If you have a compromised back, this blanket will go between your knees, and that makes a huge difference. So modifying with the blanket or without the blanket, so always your choice. Hands will go on either side of the bolster, engage your twist, and then inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, walk your hands towards the top of the mat, and then turn your head to the left. So when you turn your head to the left, you want to make sure that the gaze is facing the same direction as the knees. I know for some people, they like to turn their head the other way, which is really hard on the neck. There are very few people that I found, probably less than 1%, that really should be having their head facing the other way. And I'm just resting on my hand here just so the microphone isn't obstructed. So, but you would have your arm by your side. And then settling in here, taking a few breaths to get acclimated in this twist. And adjusting if you need to. So that adjustment would be if you need to have the blanket between the knees. Sometimes people need to twist on their back. You can have the eyes open or closed. Settling in. Softening the back, softening the kidneys, making sure you're not taking too much weight into the forearms or the shoulders. And then as you're ready, take your hands underneath your shoulders. You're going to slowly push yourself up to a seat, bringing the head up last. Once you're seated, shift the shoulders to the left so that we completely untwist, aligning the shoulders with the hips. And just pause for a moment. And then when you're ready, let's transition to the other side. So you'll roll through your sitting bones, taking your blanket with you if you need it, coming onto the other side, shifting the bolster over to the left. So again, same position with the legs. That top shin will be parallel with the bottom of the mat, the left shin parallel with the side of the mat. Or you'll take the blanket between your knees. Hands will go on either side of your bolster. You're going to inhale, lengthen. Walk your hands towards the top and then coming back down onto your side. The gaze is going to face the same direction that the knees are facing. And then settling in, adjusting the arms if you need to, making sure that the weight is in fact on the bolster and not on the arms. So as we progress in the practice, the breath can become a little more shallow. So that's pretty common if that's occurring with you. Using that counting breath if you need to give the mind a job. And we'll be here for about 10 more breaths. And then as you're ready, slide your hands underneath your shoulders. Once again, take your time and make your way up to a seat. We're going to turn the shoulders to the right just to unwind out of the twist. And then if you're using that blanket, you can move it off to the side. You might need it later. And we're going to have our bolster next to us and come back down onto our back. And then once you're on your back, while we're here, let's just hug the knees in and do a little rocking from side to side. And then we're going to make our way into an inversion. So the inversion that I'm going to offer here is one where we're right here in the middle of the room, using the bolster underneath our hips. You could always go against a wall or use a chair or a bed or a couch to rest the legs on, where you would have the knees bent and resting. But for our purposes today, we're going to do it with the legs extended straight up. So I'm going to lift my hips up and slide the support underneath my pelvis. And you could use a block or a blanket or bolster a pillow. Make sure that the bolster is situated under the pelvis and not, once again, up into the lumbar. The hips are already above the heart, so this is to a certain degree already an inversion. And so you can stay here. This is a great place to be if lifting the legs up is too hard or you don't have a wall that you can use or a chair. But if you wanted to, from here, you're going to lift the legs up and make this more of an inversion, a true inversion or a supported shoulder stand. And sometimes this can require more effort to have the legs extended in the middle of the room. After you've done this a while, and if the hamstrings and back are open, it becomes a little more comfortable. So if you find that, you extend the legs and they need a break because it's just too much or there's too much sensation in the legs, you can lower the legs back down if you want to, and then toggle back and forth. So either keeping the legs extended or you can lower and extend them as needed. So always your choice. And allowing the legs to drain, hydrating the hips, pooling in the pelvis, making the blood making its way towards the heart. This actually really slows down the nervous system because the body has systems in place so that the blood doesn't rush to the head. Arms can be by your side, out to the side, just in a way that's going to support you. If you're near the wall, you could bring the arms above your head. It's probably more challenging to do that in the middle of the room, so I would just keep the arms where they are in a way that's going to support you. But for me, since I like to invert every day, I don't always want to go to a wall, so I like doing it here in the center of the room. That works really well for me. Just checking in with the legs, seeing if they need to lower. And you could always come into that supported bridge if you wanted to. Or you can keep them extended or toggle in and out of this inversion. Always your choice. And we'll be here for about About 10 more breaths. And then as you're ready, bend your knees, lower the feet. Lift your hips up and push the bolster or the pillows down towards your feet. And we'll do a butterfly either with the feet on the bolster, so soles of the feet together, knees wide, with the feet on the bolster. If that's too much for your hips, then allow the bolster to support you by having the soles of the feet together and then knees wide with the knees resting on the bolster. And keeping everything soft. And then taking your hands on the outside of your knees, let's push the knees together and come into a knock knee position, just countering the movement of the hip opener for a moment. And then we'll transition right from here into a final rest. So you could just extend the legs long. Maybe you want to open up your blanket and cover yourself with a blanket to support you. Sometimes a little extra weight can be nice and soothing to the nervous system. So covering yourself and then letting the legs go long, keeping a little bit of space between the feet. And then a little bit of space between the arms and the sides of the ribs. Letting the body get really heavy, softening the feet and the calves and the thighs and the pelvis. Soften your back and the belly and the heart and the space that surrounds your heart, softening the shoulders and the arms and the hands and the throat, maybe swallowing a couple of times, allowing the eyes to settle back into their sockets, softening all of the muscles in your face, and then softening the scalp and the crown of the head. And as you inhale, inhale a sense of peacefulness. As you exhale, release anything that is no longer serving you. And begin to lengthen your breath. Slowly invite movement back into the body. Wiggle your fingers. Wiggle the toes. Circle the ankles and wrists. As you're ready, you can slowly bend one knee at a time in towards the shoulders. Give yourself a hug like you mean it. And rock from side to side. And then come back to center. Raise one arm above your head and roll onto your side. Resting on your side, using your arm as a pillow. Checking in with your heart, with your breath, with your nervous system. Checking into that felt sense and noticing what arises here. Our nervous system will always tell us what's going on. You can't fool the nervous system. So the more you can cultivate a relationship with your nervous system, the better off you'll be. Better you'll be able to respond. And then as you're ready, you're going to slowly take your time, make your way up to a seat. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's bring our arms out to the sides with the palms facing up. As you inhale, bring the arms out and up. Palms will touch above your head. Exhaling, we lower the hands in front of the heart. In Anjali Mudra, the mudra of gratitude. And then we'll bow down towards our heart with gratitude for the practice and with gratitude for our bodies and all of the things we get to do in our bodies. Let's spend less time here, and more time here in the heart. And I want to thank you so much for showing up for this restorative practice. And I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Have an amazing rest of your day. Namaste.